They say that when Abraham Lincoln was particularly angry, he wrote a letter in response and placed it in a drawer, and then the next day he reread it and he threw it in the fire. This story perfectly illustrates why Lashon Hara, damaging speech, is easier to avoid in writing than in speech. When we speak, we have no time to reconsider. Once the words come out of our mouths, they're gone forever. We can apologize, we can try to make amends, but we can't take the words back. With writing, we can reread the words and reconsider whether we really want to send them. For this reason, in theory, Lashon Hara should be less of a problem on the internet than in speech. In my experience, this theory is not borne out in practice. Lashon Hara is as big a problem, if not bigger, on the internet than in speech. But it doesn't have to be that way. I appeal to you, my friends, follow President Lincoln's example. Words can cause real harm. They not only cause psychological and social damage, but they can harm someone's livelihood. How can a religious Jew risk that, rather than just following the halacha? And halacha is not particularly complicated or difficult. There will rarely be a time when you have permission to reveal negative information about a private individual. Frankly, in general, you shouldn't be discussing private individuals on the internet anyway. Respect their privacy just like you want your own privacy respected. When dealing with public figures and institutions, so then we are certainly allowed to subject them to public scrutiny. But you have to do it with great honesty and a generosity of spirit. You have to go out of your way to find ways to justify their behaviors. As we all know from stories of being dan l'chav zechus, judging favorably. These aren't just stories. They're supposed to be models for our own behavior. You need to look for a way to understand positively someone's actions. However, don't get me wrong, there is certainly room to disagree and even to suggest better ways of doing things. But how often do you see a generosity of spirit on the internet? How often do you see people being dan l'chav zechus? Not often enough. Friends, this is all in writing. You have the opportunity to reread your words before submitting them. Please, do what's right. Think carefully. Look for ways to be dan l'chav zechus. You can still disagree, but do it with kindness. Be the Kiddush Hashem. Do what's right. When it comes to uncovering wrongdoing, the internet is frankly all we've got. How often do from newspapers unmask financial impropriety or abuse? All we have is the internet. But I call upon you, the anonymous internet users, to use that power of accusation responsibly. A false accusation can destroy someone's life, so you have to be very careful with your aim. If you have information about a crime, don't blog about it. Go to the police. Immediately, go to the police. If your information is not good enough for the police, then you must decide the most responsible next step to take. I have seen potential accusers who were convinced that they had good information about a crime, but they almost always seem to me to be a bit delusional, wrapped up in their own version of reality and never particularly grounded. I suggest that if your evidence is not enough for the police, then you find a rabbi. He doesn't have to be your local rabbi, someone who you respect and whose values you share, and ask him for advice. This is serious business. Additionally, too often anonymous accusations accomplish the exact opposite of what you want. It generates for the accused sympathy for being the target of an anonymous internet accusation. Watchdogs play an important role in our community, but you have to do it right. You have to do it safe, you have to do it smart, and you have to do it responsibly. The rest of us face a different dilemma. Even if we're careful about not posting Lashon Hara online, we still have to avoid reading it. You learn quickly from experience which blogs and websites have the Lashon Hara and which don't. The simple answer is to avoid the websites where you've experienced or expect problems. It really isn't that hard. Some people have acquired a distaste for Lashon Hara and will automatically avoid those websites. Other people have developed a desire for it and therefore know exactly where to find it. If you have that desire, use it as a tool. It will tell you exactly where to find the Lashon Hara, and that's your sign to avoid those websites. If you really want to go someplace for juicy gossip, that's your sign to avoid it. And when you do come across Lashon Hara, be smart about it. Be skeptical. Newspaper stories are often untrue. Kal v'chomer anonymous websites. I've seen too many irresponsible accusations to automatically believe them. And I've seen vicious people use the internet to falsely accuse good people, or even worse, to distort the truth and taint perfectly normal people to fit into some paranoid conspiracy theory. Be smart, be skeptical, and do your best to stay away. Onos Dvarim is saying hurtful things about someone. For teenagers, this is part and parcel of internet behavior. It is forbidden and it is dangerous. It can drive insecure kids into Great Depression. One of the topics you need to discuss with your children is how careful they must be not to criticize other kids online. This could be a matter of life and death for some kid, and your child does not want to carry around that kind of responsibility or guilt. Imagine someone who spends hours designing a graphic picture, posts it online, and someone immediately comments that's horrible. He just spent hours, and in a matter of seconds, the commenter has crushed his spirit. Why? That's not how a refined person acts. That is, pardon my language, how a jerk acts. Show sensitivity. If you need to criticize, do it with accompanying praise that genuinely acknowledges the person's effort. When taken to an extreme, that kind of criticism becomes bullying. Kids can be merciless, and when the insults are piled on and the artist is continually crushed, that is bullying. It is a real danger of the internet. Your children need to know that that kind of behavior is dangerous and can scar someone for life, or worse. Teach your kids Hillel's golden rule. Don't do to others what you don't want them to do to you. They need to learn the sensitivity to other people's emotions that the Torah demands. Demands! This is an important teaching moment for your children. But friends, everything we just said about kids applies to adults. Show sensitivity. Don't criticize harshly or unnecessarily. Don't insult people. Keep in mind that their mothers might see what you are writing about them. Their children too. Show some compassion and be a mensch.